Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Notre Dame rushes for 246 yards, limits Syracuse at 286 overall, and of course blocks a punt en route to a 41-24 finish, Tim. And we thought we might not see the best or Garrett Schrader at all. We certainly didn't see the best of him. A little spark provided by Carlos Del Rio Wilson there in the second half.
Yeah, it was very clear from the beginning that Garrett Schrader was not up to par. Notre Dame took advantage of that. They couldn't, you couldn't pull away until really the end of the second quarter. Some of that frustration comes in because they're dominating the line of scrimmage, but they're not putting points on the board. But the late score at the end of the first half gave them a 2-touchdown lead, and it got close again in the second half because the defense can't shut things down completely. But they were able to pull away, and as you say, that block punt is coming just about every week.
Yeah, it got close in the second half, too, because the offense had to go only ground game. Drew Pine finishes 9 of 19 for 116 yards. And Notre Dame held a 225-75 first half advantage in total yards. It ended up being 362-286. So, we did ask post-game of Marcus Freeman how to help Drew Pine in these situations, and he kind of defaulted to, we scored 41 points. So if we're going to run the ball well, we're going to continue to run the ball well. Could get tougher doing that next week, but they sure ran the ball well today. Estime, huge bounce back performance. He was our topic of conversation. How much do you go to him? And universally on our podcast, all three of us said you go to him until he fumbles again, and they did that today.
Yeah, it was obvious they were going to force feed him the football. And the stuff with Drew Pine, this isn't sustainable. There was a point there where I know Tommy Reese was on him again and talking about doing his job, and he's not doing his job. And he can talk about confidence all he wants during the week, but he doesn't play confidently. He doesn't believe that he's going to be accurate throwing the football. They cannot consistently get the football to wideouts unless, of course, it's Deion Colsey, who emerged here today, which was really good to see. Good for him. But this isn't sustainable. And I'm not talking about making a change anytime within the next, 7 days, but you have to try to get Steve Angeli ready after that so that if Pine does struggle again against Navy and Boston College, you at least feel comfortable throwing your freshman quarterback into the game.
We talked about block punt sets up a touchdown, influence punt sets up a field goal, and then Brandon Joseph started the game with an interception touchdown. Obviously, Syracuse came right back down to score, but that's the spark you need when Syracuse did nothing other than their first drive. But really, that touchdown by Joseph was crucial because it briefly at least took the crowd out of the game, and as Notre Dame started to run as the game continued, that helped with the margin in the
Yeah, and Notre Dame 4 sacks, which we were kind of anticipating they'd have a chance to do that. Once again, didn't expect Jordan Botelho to be the guy that was changing the momentum of the game, but good for him. Look, Notre Dame's pass rush so good that Jordan Botelho can't get on the field regularly to try to put pressure on the quarterback. I'm sure that there are things that are happening in practice that are preventing him from getting on the field more, but that was good to see. The frustrating thing, again, 3 red zone entries for Syracuse, 3 touchdowns. Notre Dame was better offensively in the red zone with 4 touchdowns on 6 entries, but it is just not a complete game. I'm not 41-24. This was a game that you thought that maybe Notre Dame could lose, certainly, especially with a healthy Garrett Schrader. So they won by 17, but a lot of this, again, is not sustainable, especially as you go into Clemson week.
Yeah, but we should piggyback on that. The defense keeps Syracuse 3rd and 4th down.
4 for 14. Yep.
4 for 14 on 3rd down, 0 for 2 on 4th down, just as important. The late scores are frustrating, but if Notre Dame continues to play defense like this in every game where they're limiting teams, the minutia of the game is important when they're keeping teams from off the field that well on 3rd down. And it's you say, I agree, it's not sustainable, but I think it's not sustainable just because of the passing offense of Notre Dame. Everything else seems sustainable right now going the last 5 games.
Yeah, true. And I don't want to be overly critical here in this situation, but because, again, they hold them under 300 yards, but they held UNLV under 300 yards and gave up 3 touchdowns. They hold Syracuse under 300 yards and give up 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So it's good to come out of here with a win. An atmosphere that's difficult to play in. There's no doubt about that. And they did what they had to do against a 6-1 football team. But they had an opportunity against an offense that was compromised without their quarterback, and they took really good advantage of it, especially, in the first half, when you thought, oh man, is this going to be a 1-score game or a tie game at halftime? And they ended up pulling away, and they had to pull away again in the second half.
Notre Dame improves to 5-3 with a 41-24 victory at Syracuse. Up next, undefeated Clemson in South Bend.